On the latest episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, he gave his take on the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Take a look.
Politics in this country is binary. You have to wear everything anyone on your side does. Republicans are the party of don't wear masks, kids in cages, lock her up, and Democrats are the party of every hypersensitive social justice warrior, woke story in the news.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Get ready for a fiery political showdown as Bill Maher dives headfirst into the stark contrast between Republicans and Democrats in today's hyper-polarized arena. It seems like sticking with your side now means embracing every single stance and catchphrase, no questions asked. On one end, you've got Republicans championing their no masks, lock her up rhetoric. On the other, Democrats are painted as the champions behind every overblown, emotionally charged social justice headline dominating the news cycle. At times, it even feels like some individuals gain their spotlight for reasons that have little to do with merit. To borrow a phrase from Donald Trump, some are elevated simply because they're a flawless 10. And honestly, I wouldn't mind a few of Whoopi's sharp jabs aimed at me. She's got a knack for dropping absurdities. And sometimes her timing is spot on. Now imagine this. Just last week,
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though. It's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
You've likely...
Joy Behar found herself in the crosshairs of Bill Maher's relentless roast, sending the internet into a frenzy. Maher's scathing takedown of Behar has been met with cheers from those who believe it was long overdue. So, what exactly did Behar say to set Maher off? And how did he dismantle her argument so effectively that woke Twitter is now in full meltdown mode? We've got every detail, every blistering retort, and the kind of verbal blow-by-blow that'll make your snack time even more entertaining. Buckle up. This is one episode you won't want to miss. If you've been online lately, you've probably already caught this clip. So, let's skip the full play-by-play. In short, Behar took a swipe at Karoline Leavitt's intelligence. Because, let's be honest, that's just how the outspoken panel on The View operates. According to Behar, Leavitt only landed her new role as Trump's press secretary because she's a size 10.
But isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
As if dress measurements now dictate qualifications. The irony here is rich. Behar herself has spent years dishing out questionable opinions and bizarre takes without anyone ever demanding her credentials. And even when co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin pointedly reminded her of Leavitt's actual qualifications and experience, Behar conveniently tuned it all out. Naturally, this set Bill Maher off, prompting one of his signature brutal responses. Say what you want about Maher, but one thing's undeniable. He doesn't pull punches. He calls it exactly as he sees it, and this time was no different. According to him, The View suffers from the very problem its name suggests.
Politics in this country is binary. You have to wear everything anyone on your side does. Republicans are the party of don't wear masks, kids in cages, lock her up, and Democrats are the party of every hypersensitive social justice warrior, woke story in the news. They're the party that disappears people or tries to make them apologize for ridiculous things.
It isn't a space for diverse perspectives, but rather a singular narrative that refuses to entertain alternative viewpoints. Any disagreement is dismissed as irrelevant, absurd, or outright offensive. And unsurprisingly, Joy Behar leads the charge in shutting down anything that doesn't align with her ideology. Even within The View's self-reinforcing echo chamber, she refuses to tolerate Alyssa Farah Griffin for merely offering a different take on Karoline Leavitt's appointment. Because in Joy's world, disagreement isn't just a matter of differing opinions, it's practically sacrilegious. But Maher didn't stop at Behar. He turned his sights on the entire Democratic Party.
Is she really a 10? We'll be right back.
No, Jesse was a 7.
Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a rating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
Check out.
And honestly, he hit the mark. Had the why Democrats been the ones to appoint Caroline Leavitt, Behar would be front and center, showering her with praise, extolling her brilliance, poise, and eloquence. She'd likely deliver an over-the-top tribute about how Leavitt represents the future of America. But because Leavitt got the role under Trump, suddenly, none of that matters. Instead, Behar reduces her to a dress size because, apparently, that's the level of discourse we've come to expect from The View. And let's be real, if anyone else reduced a woman's accomplishments to her appearance, Behar would be leading the outrage, demanding apologies and cancellations. Yet, when her own side plays the same game, she conveniently looks the other way. The hypocrisy is glaring.
Empowering feminist Joy herself, everyone. And this is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world, because Caroline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
Maher wasn't the only one to call this out. Greg Gutfeld also weighed in, delivering a searing critique of Behar's performative antics. He hit the nail on the head. Joy Behar's reduction of Leavitt's success to her looks implies that no woman can truly advance on merit unless she's a Democrat. And let's be honest, if someone had made the same comment about a woman on the left, Behar would have exploded in outrage. And here's where it gets even more ridiculous. The same DEI advocates who claim to prioritize diversity and competence suddenly fall silent when their own side reduces a woman to her appearance. Meanwhile, Leavitt is out there at the White House, skillfully handling press briefings and proving she knows her stuff.
What now? So if you don't like Kamala Harris's weird cackling, it's because you fear her in the boudoir?
Huh?
That's a theory there, Joy. I feel like, given her personal history, Willie Brown and all, that's probably not what people are thinking about Kamala Harris when they are thinking about that type of activity, but sure, go with that.
But instead of acknowledging her competence, Behar resorts to petty jabs. Maybe it's jealousy, as Gutfeld suggests. After all, he even quipped that Behar is 1.5 light years away from a perfect score, which might explain her bitterness toward Leavitt in the first place. A recent report has all but confirmed what we suspected. Joy Behar is simmering with envy. While Caroline Leavitt works for the world's most influential leader, Behar is still shouting over cackling co-hosts on a daytime talk show. In Behar's mind, Leavitt is just some upstart who hasn't earned her place. But conveniently, she overlooks one simple fact. It's not about age, it's about intelligence, capability, and dare we say, competence. Leavitt possesses all three. And that, more than anything, is what fuels Behar's resentment. If Leavitt were a 25-year-old...
What really ticks me off about him, though, is this laughing Kamala remark. It's such a remark, because a guy I was with over the weekend, a friend of mine, they said Kamala's laugh annoys me. Remember they said that about Hillary's laugh, that she was cackling. And men, they don't like a funny woman. We're afraid if you laugh or you make a joke, that maybe you'll do that when they're in bed with you. It's like this fear.
Liberal, Behar would be singing her praises as a trailblazer for young women. Instead, because Leavitt dares to think, for herself, she's dismissed as nothing more than her looks. Perhaps Behar is just upset that her own resume wouldn't even qualify her for a receptionist job at the White House, let alone a role leading a press briefing. And if you think this is an isolated case, think again. Behar has a track record of making absurd statements, like calling people sexist for not enjoying Kamala Harris's laughter. Yes, you heard that right. According to Behar, disliking the vice president's laugh is now a prime example of misogyny. It would be hilarious if it weren't so ridiculous. The View's hosts have made a habit of pulling wild accusations out of thin air. Seriously, how does Behar even arrive at the idea that disliking someone's laugh equates to being afraid of women? Does that pass as a logical argument, or did she just string together words and hope no one would challenge her? Ben Shapiro wasn't having it. He called out the absurdity for what it was. According to him, disliking Harris's laugh isn't some deep-seated sign of sexism. It's just an honest reaction. Not every critique is a grand conspiracy against women. Sometimes a laugh is just annoying. But of course, the woke mob refuses to accept that. Instead, they twist even the mildest critique into accusations of sexism, racism, or whatever ism fits the moment. If you don't enthusiastically cheer every move of their chosen icons, you're instantly branded as a terrible person. Dislike a laugh? You're a misogynist. Question a policy? You're a bigot. Prefer black coffee? Someone, somewhere will find a way to label you a white supremacist. And that's the real game here. Slapping politically correct labels on every dissenting remark, no matter how trivial, to shut down debate and push an agenda. After all, if they ever had to actually defend their ideas in a real discussion, the whole thing would unravel fast. At last, someone has put Joy Behar in her place. The hypocrisy, the double standards, and the outright nonsense, it's all been exposed. And if history is any indication, The View's hosts will be right back at it tomorrow, peddling another set of performative outrage. And we'll be here, calling it out. Stay tuned.